if the speaker actually means them, backing their rhetorical promise with action. As we've seen, though, far from draining the swamp, Trump converted the White House itself into a fetid cesspool of lobbyists, corporate executives, and banksters. His transition team was almost exclusively made up of those swamp critters. His glitzy inaugural celebration was bankrolled by big oil, big coal, big pharma, and other bigs that attached their legislative and regulatory demands to the checks they donated. Most of his top officials come straight out of Wall Street and corporate suites, turning Trump's government into a sump pump that is routinely funneling billions of dollars and special regulatory favors to the moneyed elite. When asked why he put Wall Street hucksters in charge of economic policy, he offered this scramble of words that inadvertently revealed his true plutocratic soul. I love all people, rich or poor, but in these positions, I just don't want a poor person. This is Jim Hightower saying, really? Not even one official who understands poverty from firsthand experience and could not only give you advice, but also some understanding? And what about those hard-hit middle-class workers Trump always talks about? Nope, he hasn't appointed a single one to a top policy position. So forget Trump's words. If the poor and middle class aren't in his government, they're not in his heart either, nor in his policies.
Why are you listening to this radio station? Why? When you can host your own radio show. You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065 and get ready to transmit.
Every day is a great day at KCAA Radio. August 7th is National Night Out. Now, this day is observed annually on the first Tuesday in August. It is a community police awareness raising event in the United States. National Night Out was created to increase awareness about police programs and communities. Some of these programs include drug prevention, town watch, and neighborhood watch. One of the largest National Night Out events is on the west side of Columbus, Ohio. The Ogden Block Watch in Columbus organizes one of the largest festivals, which include live music, food, and entertainment. Events around the country are normally organized by block watchers, not for-profit organizations, companies, and police departments. These events can be as simple as backyard barbecues or as large as full-blown festivals. Join in a local National Night Out event near you. Post on social media using hashtag National Night Out Day. For KCAA NBC Radio, I'm Andrew Caravella, and this has been The More You Know.
KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station for the Inland Empire.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Take a walk on the wild side, will the birds and the bees survive? Right before me, my newfound hippie side. Once ignored these conspiracies online. Out the window, visions of the earth. Sign me up now, make sure you use your smart. Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Would your children ride to see Mother Nature sigh?
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Welcome, everyone. Smart Health Talk radio show here, and this is the place if you want to, how about lose weight? Yeah, because the things that we tell you to do here are going to help you lose weight. And I never thought I'd say this because I never thought my thyroid was going to go haywire from all the pesticides being sprayed around me. But it did. And so I was stuck with the challenge to lose weight. And I thought, okay, this is something as a registered dietitian I better get right. But it was a whole different situation where we see, like, if you watch the Kourtney Kardashian show where they're challenging people to lose weight. You know, these are young people, except there was one girl that had a gut issue. And I was really disappointed in how they treated that because I thought her issue was representative of so many people out there that are stuck and can't lose weight. And it's like, why am I not losing weight? And you could see the trainer was like extremely frustrated with her, you know, like, why are you not losing weight like everybody else? You're supposed to be. I know you're doing something wrong. And I don't know whether she was doing everything she was supposed to do. But, you know, people are people and we're going to go off track. But that can make us stronger if we go back on track. And losing 40 pounds over the past, I guess this has been like a year and a half. So this wasn't a slow thing. But one of the great things I'm happy about, I don't got like hanging skin. Well, okay, I got a little bit here, but I just still muscle tone will get most of that to go away. But what I'm super excited about today is that I am wearing a skirt that I got 1 month before Katrina in New Orleans. And bought this skirt, and the taxi driver actually told us that he was really scared about the levees. So this was 1 month before Katrina. And it wasn't long after that I really started to see my body start changing. And then you pack on all these other things, and of course it just makes matters worse because your body's getting more and more out of balance, out of whack. And that's exactly how I felt. So instead of doing what I'd been doing for years and years, which was hit the gym, work out hours per day, jog miles per day, I decided to just take it slow and heal myself and focus on yard work and doing things that required me to be active instead of just sitting in front of my computer, which I haven't got very much done on my computer, but and our websites and our YouTube, but this has been I decided this was the year for me and to heal. And so I ate super nutrient-rich foods full of vitamin D, got sunshine without sunscreen. Oh my God. Dr. Senev tells us we make cholesterol sulfate in our skin, which helps lower our LDL. We have a high LDL because we're all using sunscreen and we're never getting vitamin D or making cholesterol sulfate in the sun, which actually you can also make when you take a bath in Epsom salts. So start doing that and see if that helps lower your LDL. If you can't seem to get that LDL down, it's because LDL is where cholesterol sulfate is stored. So your body starts hoarding it if you're not getting any sun on your skin. So, you know, they don't tell you that kind of stuff, right? The doctors don't tell you. No, they just want to write your prescription for statins, which I have to warn you has been linked to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. You know, just not even worth it. You're blocking cholesterol, which guess what? Your brain, made up of a big chunk of cholesterol, okay? So you start blocking what's going to your brain. What do you think? You know, Alzheimer's, you know, dementia makes sense. So I would, you know, do your research for every single drug that you have. Type in the name of the drug, type in risk afterwards. And you'll find that we have if heart attack is actually our #1 killer. On Smart Health Talk website, we have a great section for what to do in case I have a heart attack by yourself. The symptoms for men and women. Please check out our whole resource section. We have so much great stuff there. And also check out I have noticed that they are pushing this potato product and that potato product. We got like chicken French fries. We got like the chili cheese fries. We got the potato with the French fries on it. Just fries, fries, fries. Well, I tell you, those potatoes that are grown for the fast food industry have like 30 pesticides, sprout inhibitors, you name it on there. But not just that, but these pesticides are destroying our wildlife. They're destroying us. We have wildlife that is got all kinds of genital mutations, overbites, tumors, and it comes from these pesticides that they're using on the potato products. So every time you're buying one of these French fry fast food products, you are adding to that system. I'm going to ask you to please try and just let go. You can't believe how freeing it is when you just say, forget it. You know, all these products, what did we report just a couple of weeks ago? Gatorade is a friggin' laxative. That's right. That's what they use for colonoscopy patients. Oh, just drink a few Gatorade. That'll get you cleaned out. So it's making you go to the bathroom. So you can't even do that by yourself. I just could not. That blew my mind. Not just that, but this propylene glycol is also like probably destroying your gut bacteria at the same time. So these are the kind of things that we warn you about. Please, under our resources section, check out our Smart Health Talk resolutions, and during each of these sections, every one of our suggestions could be life-changing for you. I'm not saying you go to our Smart Health Talk resolution section and, oh, I have to do all these things. No, what we have there are suggestions for you. Go and check out our Smart Health Talk resolution. There's a link on our homepage, and we have 10 different groups of suggestions. Pick just one. Even if you picked one per month, by the end of the year, you'd have 12 new behaviors that could change your life. Not just that, but help you lose weight. I'm telling you, the secret to this is we get back to real food. That's why I'm asking you, let go of all this advertising. You've been programmed. Oh, I want this fast food. I want this junk food. I want all this stuff in the center of the store. No, you want the peripheral. You want the real food, and you don't want it even at the store. Stop shopping at the store as little as possible. Go to the farmer's market. Get it fresh, organic from your local farmer. I mean, I get meat, I get eggs, I get raw milk. I get all this stuff from my local farmer. It is the best ever. I tell you, when I make pancakes without that raw, organic, grass-fed milk with those eggs, local eggs, and you just like, we're talking a whole different ball game here. This is like taste at a new level. Like you have never like experienced before, okay? You'll be just like, oh my God, Elaine, you're right. This is the way a friggin' pancake is supposed to taste. It's just like a light will go on in your head when you bite into an organic apple without all of these pesticides on it. A light will go off in your head. You'll be like, yes, this is it. This is the way food's supposed to taste. Fight for it. Fight for your body. Start to believe that you deserve the best, and make sure you get it. Whatever it takes. Even you go to the farmer's market, screw the store. I hate even going in there. I can't even remember the last time I went in one. I don't even do the shopping. I can't even go to those. And we don't shop there anyway for our food. Okay, now we want to get to our guest because we're going to be talking about some things that are... This stuff is like affecting you in ways that would blow your mind, that you can't even comprehend. And I tell you, since we've been having Tiffany Anderson on the show, which is a whistleblower for San Joaquin Vector District, you're probably like, Vector District, who the heck are they? Because they're like this agency that gets all this friggin' money, okay, and they're spraying pesticides on us. They could be dumping it on our land, spraying our land. We don't even know. I mean, so many things going on. I didn't even think about. Factory farms just drive me crazy. I have a whole section on antibiotic-resistant bacteria, factory farms on our Smart Health Talk website. And by the way, too, please go to our Blue Monarch Project website. Find out about our monarch release tonight. We have about 35 monarchs we're going to be releasing. We're asking our local people here, Redlands, mainly Loma Linda, to come, but everyone is welcome, of course. But we're in Loma Linda to come and help us release these monarchs, bring the kids. Oh my gosh, we have so much fun. We had such a great time last night, and just to see the kids' faces as they're touching the butterflies, touching the caterpillars, oh my gosh. It just makes all that hard work and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours that we spend trying to bring the monarchs back. We've already released several hundred monarchs. We have about 400 right now in our garage that we're going to be releasing, that are in the process of changing and growing. So please go to our website. Please support bringing back the monarchs, because we're doing education at the same time. We're changing our communities. We're making them safer, cleaner, and free of pesticides. This is what we're trying to do. And go to our BlueMonarchProject.com website. Find out what pesticides have been being sprayed around you. We added all new sections to that website. We have, click on it. You can look at all of San Bernardino County, all the production, agriculture, the non-production, and just find out. We have all that right there on there. Find out what your schools are spraying. Go and check that out, BlueMonarchProject.com. All the information about our monarch release tonight is on there, and we just hope that you guys will come and join us in this incredible event. Monarchs are fearless, in that we have no biting, apoplectic shock, no stinging, no nothing, no scratching, no problems whatsoever, just gentle, fearless touching and connection to nature and science. Okay, this is the kind of thing we want for our kids. Okay, let's get Tiffany Anderson on, because we are going to start talking. If any of you out there have worked for the government and believe that you were not treated correctly in your job, then Tiffany is going to be able to enlighten us on this as well. But trust me, this vector department is something all of us need to go to find out who is our local vector department. Go to their website on a regular basis, because they're going to be saying, oh, we're spraying your house, and you don't even know it. Okay, that's why you have to get to know your vector department and go to their website on a regular basis, because they do not get this information out because they don't want you to know. Okay, and we have been talking to Tiffany for a couple of months now with all these reasons why they don't want you to know. And just from talking to her, I thought, okay, factory farms, bad. Never even thought about all the things that are kicked in with the vector department as a result of these factory farms and their dirty, disgusting practices that then in turn cause massive pesticide use. So this is the kind of thing that we have to start thinking about, because it is affecting us in so many ways. Okay, so we're going to get down to misuse of funds today. Now, these people are given large chunks of money, and trust me, they want to spend it because they want to have a reason to ask for that amount and more the next year. And so they find ways, they make ways to spend it, which is some of what we've been talking about. But they're also padding their pockets in ways that I just could not even comprehend before I talked to Tiffany. So I'm going to pretty much I'm introducing her right now, and I know that she's been doing her due diligence and been doing her research and is ready to give us this information that anyone that has worked for the government, you want to pay attention to this. Anyone that is concerned in how our government is spending money will want to listen to what Tiffany has to say. So Tiffany.
Hi.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk.
Thank you. Thank you once again.
Yes, and so I'm going to pretty much give you the floor here, because I know that you have a bunch of stuff to tell us. And I'm just going to kick back and learn with all the rest of our Smart Health Talk listeners. So everyone, please stay tuned and let's get a reality check here. Let's get the truth for once, okay? About what the heck is really going on with our taxpayer money, with our property, with our health, with our environment, with our cities, all this stuff with our schools. This is what we're talking about here. It's affecting us. So go ahead, Tiffany. And
Wouldn't I shock you if I'm just like, Elaine, I just don't really have anything to say today. I
would know there's no possible way.
Anybody who knows me would know there's no possible way. I just,
Absolutely.
I was just thinking how funny that was, because I was usually every time before we go on the air, a week before, I'll have some kind of trip or some adventure that brings me through a previous experience that I'd had, and it always prepares me for the week that we're going to talk about. I have some ideas, but the very first thing I want to do is I want to plug my blog, and my blog is culexpipien.com, and that's culexpipien.com. My story working for a special district. And the gist of that blog is it has 40 years of documentation on it. It has 20 years of my deceased supervisor's records that he felt necessary to hold on to, and then it has about 20 years of my own documentation on there. And there's an index in there, and it's linear. And now that we've done these interviews, all the interviews are on a post titled My Interviews. And what I'm in the process of doing right now is I've listened to each episode, and then what I'm going to be doing is putting underneath each episode on my blog, under the interview, it'll say, click here for supporting documents. That way, it's just not Tiffany Anderson coming up blowing a lot of hot air, but there's actually documentation to support the things that I say, because, that's very important. And so I just kind of wanted to get that out there. I think
I knew that you had that, and that's the reason that I came on, that this is something that you have been working on for a long time, and gathering the documentation was not an easy task. These people do not willfully hand over this stuff, do they, Tiffany?
Well, okay, by law, and you know this part, Elaine, because I know you have some human resource background, but by law, anything that has my signature on it, so whether it's payroll, whether it was an employee evaluation, whether it was a medical record, anything that has my signature on it, when I request those records from the Department of Labor, through OSHA, or just through my own union rep, that my employer is required by law to provide those documents within a timely fashion. We're talking like no longer than a month, and this is 2018, and to date, they still cannot provide accurate payroll records. They refuse to provide accurate time roll, just all the documents that I've requested.
Why is that, Tiffany? Why are they not providing this? Is this collaborating your story in some way?
Because it would be harmful to them. Because yes, it would prove what I'm saying, and it's detrimental to them. They've committed payroll. See, I wasn't aware. My employer, they have an accountant who does all our bookkeeping and keeps track of our sick days, keeps track of vacation time, and everything is done in-house. And then what they do is then that way they have complete control over it. Nobody else sees it. Then they send just the payroll records, what they want released, the checks they want released to the auditor's office. So the auditor's office never sees our payroll. The auditor's office never sees the fraud that they're committing, but they have been committing payroll fraud from at least when I began my employment, because I've seen it with.
What about your pay stub? Is there more information on what they have than just like, say, a payroll stub that you would have in your possession?
Okay, so the payroll stub would reflect that I was working all the time, never took any time off up until my surgeries, till my knee surgeries. But we'll say the first 3 exposures, and
this is
all
to
of,
pesticides for those that are listening for the first time.
yeah,
So,
all 3 of my pesticide exposures, but specifically to the formalin, the illegal use of formalin. Those records, they do not match with the auditor's office. So the auditor's office actually gave me, my paychecks as if I'd never missed any work. And yet behind the scenes, my employer was reporting the injuries to their insurance company. And they I can't really understand how they do some of the stuff that they're doing, but I know it's fraudulent. It doesn't make any sense. Like, one of the things that they will do is they will bring a deferred like an investment company. I think it was National Deferred. They bring them in and they tell us why we should be investing in these mutual funds, and these will be, like a secondary retirement for us. So then what seems to be a history is that when we're injured, we have to actually cash those out. I have every time I've invested in their in their deferred meaning you don't pay tax on the front end, you pay tax at the back end. And so they're taking my money, they're making interest. Technically, I would be making interest if I would never touch the funds. But unfortunately, when you get injured at work and then they deny that you're injured and you're not getting any salary or getting an income, then you need to cash that out, and then you're penalized because it looks like you're getting a big chunk of money. So I know that they make money off of that.
Well, it's not just that, because I know from my own personal experience, because that, I'm pretty sure since you're with the department that you were, that they're taking out your Social Security. Are they taking out your Social Security instead of you paying? Because like with the county here, they have a credit union that's for county employees. And so the employees, instead of paying Social Security to the federal government, they pay Social Security to the county retirement organization.
Yes, ma'am.
And
exactly.
then they give you your Social Security money instead of the federal government giving
Yes.
you your Social Security money. And so what you're pretty much cashing out is your Social Security. And yes, you get a huge penalty, a huge
No, Elaine, now check it out. Now see, the thing is that we don't pay any state disability. So no, that's something totally different. What I'm talking about, the mutual fund was a deferred comp was something that they brought in, and I agreed to
it's a way for you to make more money for your retirement because you're
correct. So but the other retirement that you're talking about, where they're self-insured, and the CalPERS retirement, most like what I've noticed is there's a theme with women specifically where they terminate the woman before she hits the 10-year mark. So she is not entitled to her. You have to be vested, and in order to be vested, you have to work there for 10 years. And so I would have been at least the third woman that I'm aware of who was terminated and would not have received her retirement. They had one that was right on the cusp, and I actually have her documents online, the retaliation and what they did to her, because I wanted to show a history of it. And so she was there 10 years prior to my employment, but my boss had saved her records because my boss actually tried to help her. My boss and multiple employees tried to help save her job, but the district found it to be beneficial to them. Just think when you have an employee that has worked 10 years and you've been putting into the retirement, and then you just get rid of that employee, and then that's your money. And so,
really? So they get to keep all that money that she put into retirement?
Where does it go if it doesn't go to her?
She didn't have to cash that out?
She couldn't. She wasn't vested. You have to work 10 years to be vested. So that money that was being put in, she wasn't entitled to it. And in all
I worked for the county less than 10 years, and it was like less than 6. And my retirement money I could take out anytime I wanted.
Did you? I mean, there could be different. Every.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there could be different.
I mean, they have different.
There could be different rules, but that really is like that's tough, man. 10 years. And the thing that really gets me when I hear that, Tiffany, is first of all, you're in a job where you're subjecting your body to poisons day after day after day, and the motivation to stay there and to keep putting up with that is probably, that is a big part of it, is that 10-year mark and being able to have that retirement. That is a motivation to even stay taking it.
My motivation to stay first was just my mothering instinct. I had a daughter who was in high school, and I wanted to keep her in an upper skill lifestyle. I didn't want her to live in the poverty lifestyle that I was raised in. I didn't want her to have to deal with the barrier. I mean, I didn't want her to have to.
No, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay, so that was my initial.
Yeah, you wanted her to be safe, basically. Number one.
I wanted her to live in. Yeah, I mean, I did. Yes, absolutely.
Because when you're not living in poverty, you're living in a different neighborhood. That's usually a safer neighborhood. You're probably going to a safer school area. I mean, all these things end up being safer for her.
Here's what I'll just be blunt because that's who I am. I'm a blunt person. When I was in 7th grade, I moved into a highly Hispanic neighborhood. I lived in a poverty-stricken neighborhood. I had boys trying to rape me, and I had girls that wanted to kick my butt all the time. I felt threatened to go to school. I was afraid to go to school. I didn't want that from my daughter, and so I knew that if I was going away to work every day, I needed to keep her in a neighborhood where, those threats would not be there. And so I found this neighborhood, and this particular job provided the revenue that I needed to keep that lifestyle for her. And then
you're right. I've talked to kids that, like, everyone, all the kids in the whole room knew someone that had been shot and killed. Where all of them knew someone that had actually been shot and killed, which is scary, and it's perfectly understandable. That's what I wanted for my kids. I was just like you, and I took a government job.
So initially, I went in there for survival mode, but at some point I realized, you know what, these people are not my people. I don't talk like them. I don't walk like them. I go back to my job application, and it cracks me up because on my job application, it says, like, what are your qualifications and what are your hobbies and what are your strengths? And I was a Bible study leader. I was a Boy Scout leader. My number one priority was my children, and that being a mother was the greatest joy of my life. Seriously, this is on my application. This was what made me a great candidate to be a pesticide applicator. So when they knew the environment they would be taking me into, when I'm proclaiming my faith and they're intentionally projecting me into a atmosphere that was hostile, that was, the sexual harassment was the way it was. I mean, I don't know what outcome they expected And so so my thing is never, it's not my job to change people. And I knew I didn't fit in, so I enrolled in a bachelor's program at Humphreys Law School to become a paralegal. So I had an exit strategy, but even my exit strategy, that was a threat to them. That made, they didn't even want me to leave on good terms. They didn't even want me to leave on my own terms. They have such little value for, I don't know if it's just women or people in general, but when you see somebody's making another way for themselves, and they've already planned on leaving, why would you take your foot and shove them out the door, a little bit quicker? Unless you just have so much hostility for either a woman specifically, or for the actions the things that I stood up for, the values.
And last week we were actually breaking it down to why we're even talking about this right now. Sorry. But we know that this costs taxpayers money in the end.
You have no, okay, so this one supervisor and his girlfriend, they began litigations in the workplace, starting with the assistant supervisor that they gave the heart attack to, and they have been in litigations over this couple, and supporting and protecting their misconduct from 2006 until 2018, because things are still not settled. And then you see
what's the litigation? What are the charges against them?
Well, the litigations would be every work comp claim that was filed, and then also my EEOC charge. There was a secretary who worked there. Her name was Michelle Morgan, and she filed an EEOC charge. She had a right to sue, and she was in litigations with them in 2013, the same time I was given my right to sue. They have been in litigations.
They're doing these acts in the workplace that are totally against the law.
Correct.
At which in turn gets lawsuits started against them, which this is using taxpayer money.
And then there's the work injuries. Okay, Joe Cirelli. I'm just going to name his name because Joe Cirelli was not even, he had been there a year. He was not certified. He was hospitalized for pneumonia. Now, so that injury alone should have, they should have filed, the employer should have filed with the Cal OSHA, and they should have reported this guy's pneumonia and hospitalization. Instead, they took him off the payroll. I have a copy of that. And they took him off the payroll. They actually gave him his payroll. They gave him his payroll check as if he was still, employed, but they took his status off as an employee while he was hospitalized. Then he broke his right arm, and because what they were doing is they were killing the fish back at the ponds that we had at our White Slough facility. So they had us out going and harvesting the fish out in people's swimming pools. So they were in Stockton, and they were trying to net these fish, and there was a bunch of algae. Joe fell, and he broke his right arm. Now, I had already...
Just that whole situation where, because of what they did, they killed the fish.
Yes.
Because they're doing all these things wrong to begin with. So then that triggers the next thing, which sends you out in the field to you don't have any fish, so you need them for some sort of purpose, I guess, and you have to go get fish that you left at other people's pools to keep the mosquitoes out of those pools. So you go back and you get fish that you left other places.
It's not even, Elaine, it's not even that we want to keep mosquitoes out of people's pools. The problem is that they took this project, which was a $1 million project or a multi-million-dollar project, creating a fish hatchery, this illusion that we're going to be producing all these fish, and it wasn't happening. We were actually killing them. So we had to go out and we had to be able to produce and provide fish, because we have the facility that they have put so much money into.
Why were the fish in these other people's pools?
We would put them in there.
Okay, that's what I thought. You guys had put them in there, so then you kind of go back and harvest out of other people's pools. Yes. Okay, that's what I had thought. Okay. So
my point is that, like, Joe Sorelli was hired in my absence. I had been removed from my first knee surgery, my first right knee meniscal surgery. And during that time, I was not given any type of, they call it modified duty. And modified duty could mean that they could bring you in the office. We were in the process of like transitioning from one record keeping system to a computerized record system. So I could have been in the office doing, this transition. Instead, the manager was angry at me. My knee surgery was due retaliation. I mean, I was injured due to retaliation. The technician who I was replacing.
So punished in the workplace for being injured after they put you out there in that field because you injured your knee because you tripped over something that just was sticking out of the ground.
I didn't trip. It's just pastures, irrigated pastures have a lot of erosion, and so you're not walking on stable ground. But not to mention, to gain access to some of these properties, I was required to scale fences, and I'm like 4-foot fences, 5-foot fences, 6-foot fences. But the irony in all of this
is no fence scaling training was added.
No fence scaling training. Nor did I have any electrocution training, like when the first time I grabbed.
And what about barbed wire? I mean, did you have to go over barbed wire?
Yes. Of course, there are always barbed wire. But,
so what do? You'd like throw a coat over it or a blanket or something?
No, I was kind of tiny, so sometimes I could take the barbed wire and stretch it, and I could fit in between. But the thing that really got me, this pissed me off, is I went out there with no training, and I went one time, my feet was in the water, and I grabbed the electric fence, not knowing it was what it was. No training again. So next thing you know, I'm being jolted with electricity from my teeth, head to toe.
Oh, that's the worst. I hate that. And what about the dirtiest? Like you talked about human waste last week in graphic terms to remind us about some of the gross, disgusting things that are found in human waste.
Well,
did you get stuff on you that totally disgusted you before? Have you got dirty?
So check this out. I wanted to finish this one story, which was the job that I was doing where I was injured. I had been put in place to replace a guy who was injured and removed. He'd had 30 years experience, was injured in his area, and was removed from work.
So he had 30 years experience and he was injured.
Yes,
even after 30 years experience.
Yes, and they, instead of correcting the problem, they put me in there knowing he was harmed, knowing I would get harmed. So that's intentional negligence right there. That's not even just a work comp claim. It's intentional negligence, and it's intentional malice. But my point was, me and Tom, his name was Tom Beard. Tom Beard was not allowed modified duty. I was not allowed modified duty. But I show up to work after my surgery, and there's Joe Sorelli with an arm sling, he broke his right arm. And I looked at him and I go, I thought they didn't have modified duty. And he just looked at me like, some people get modified duty and some people don't. So I just wanted to know how somebody got to drive around with one arm, when that's against the law. So I just kind of wanted to kind of finish that story. But if you want to talk about human waste, we have, there was one employee, his name was Ken Sabati, and Ken Sabati was assigned to the Ripon area. He fell into the Ripon waste pond, and he had severe medical issues. So he filed a exposure claim, and they had actually settled. The employer had settled with the injured worker who had the exposure to the raw sewage, and I mean, he had issues like mental. The person who took over his territory said his maps were upside down. They said they go, you know, whatever happened to him, it affected his mind, his thinking, his critical thinking skills. But so after they settled, the manager came back and was like mocking the employee, going, "Hey, you know, he could have got a lot more money for his injury." And so the word got back to Ken Sabati, and Ken Sabati sued them a second time and was successful. That's the last. So that, I think that was like around 2001, and that was the last exposure claim that's been acknowledged in the workplace, although that is not the last exposure claim that has happened in the workplace. And Cal OSHA should be all over that. Cal OSHA should have a document for every single employee that has been injured in the workplace. And
aren't they monitoring this factory department and asking the question, why are we not getting any reports? Are they... What department is absolutely perfect and never has any problems? I mean, that can't even be realistic.
Especially with pesticides. But I found this attorney, the one who handled most of the work comp claims in the workplace. His name is Eric Helfrey, and he works for Stockwell, Harris, Mueller, and now after handling all our claims, he actually became a partner. And I looked on his Twitter account, and it said, playing the game until, and he said, playing the game until the end, or something like that. And I just thought, my life is a game to you? I mean, I don't know, Elaine, if you can see,
they train these people that if they say they have cancer, that they discourage them from what? What was the seminar you said?
And you know what? Him and a doctor that they use to help debunk their claims, and they actually use them. They actually use it. It's fighting cancer claims in the workplace, and it was specific to firefighters, to denying. And see, the thing is that firefighters by law are supposed to have lifetime insurance. They're supposed to retire with insurance, and there's not supposed to be any question whether they were injured on the job, because their job is so hazardous, because they're taking such a risk. But now these attorneys, I swear, they're so greedy. I mean, we need to get rid of some of these attorneys, these corporate.
Shysters.
But okay, so back to Stockton Sewer. So when I was hired in 2004, our sewer plant, Stockton Sewer, was having a lot of leaching, and it was leaching over, and they would put a CO2 baited trap over there, and they were starting to get high trap counts. And so the manager told...
And these are mosquitoes, right?
Yes, they're mosquitoes. And if we ever get the opportunity, I would love to explain to you the different species of mosquitoes, because each one carries its own disease and their metamorphosis cycle is unique to each other. You know, they're independent of one another. They're not all the same. Not all mosquitoes are the same. But I
didn't even think about that, and you got me looking, and I was very surprised at all these different kinds of mosquitoes that I'm not very aware of. But
yeah, there's Culex, there's Aedes, there's
okay, we got 5 minutes. I just need like two to, because I wanted to tell one other story that I had to go through the past week.
Okay, the sewer plant. So the sewer plant. The person whose zone it was the manager told him, I want you to go there and I want you to treat your sewer plant. And he was an assistant supervisor. His name was Larry Frazier. And Larry Frazier said, you first, to the manager, John Stroh. So John Stroh and him had like a standstill. Like Larry's like, I'm not going out there. We know what happened to Ken Sabati. I'm not getting myself subjected to all the bacteria, viruses, and all of the different things. And so they sent me out there because I was a new employee, and they sent me and another employee. It wasn't my zone, and didn't have any training, didn't have any knowledge of sewage handling, but yet I was sent out there to do the work of an employee who absolutely refused because he knew the dangers. So go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. The thing that happened to me is our government at work here. I mentioned that Vicane, which is when they tent houses, this has a gas in that is equivalent to sarin. It's an organophosphate, which is a chemical weapon, and the insecticide came first, then the chemical weapon, and they tent this house, and there's no way that house is sealed completely shut. So they pump that gas in. The gas is coming out even before they start to release it up in above. They have some pipe that goes above. I had so much damage. They destroyed my yard. I had giant tropical leaves. They're black. They're dead. I had thousands of milkweed. Destroyed the leaves. So I call up there. They try to I had someone come and inspect my yard for a nursery. They told me that they keep records of these tenting of the houses, that they could look it up. When I call someone at the Department of Ag to file a complaint, not only do they give me the runaround, I still don't know if I filed it. I kept telling them I want to file a official complaint. They tell me they don't keep records. Then I talk to another guy, and he tells me, just give me the address. So if he just needed the address, they have the records, because I think we need to keep track of these Vicane. I've been exposed 3 times in a year, actually 4 times. Another guy down the street did it, and this is not right. We should not be exposing people to this kind of exposure over and over again. And I know that organophosphates are one of the worst of all, the most toxic. And I just want to thank you for joining us again today, Tiffany. This information, I am sure there are a lot of people out there that have been wronged in their job, that have been manipulated like this to rip them off, to deprive them of benefits, to deprive them of being able to file a claim when they get hurt on the job, and just the mental abuse on the job, putting people in dangerous positions. With total disregard to what can happen to them on the job,
and denying them medical care afterwards.
Yes, and this, and yet they are over manipulating money and pocketing money in ways that is not even being investigated.
Right.
The people that we're supposed to depend on to watch out for us in these situations are not doing their job. They're acting like nothing is even happening as far as we know, because you've been a victim to all this. So we know that something in this system is not working correctly. And I just want to thank you for having the courage to stand up and help bring attention to this, because until we start talking about it and people see the courage and understand their options, they're just going to still keep taking it when we have to stand up and fight this. Okay, everyone, please go and check out Blue Monarch Project. And those of you that want to join us tonight, we're going to release some butterflies. So join the fun. Okay, bye-bye, Tiffany.
Ignore these conspiracies online. Out the window, visions of the earth. Sign me up now, make sure you use your smart. Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Would your children lie?
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.9